All right, this is Reverend Joy, and I have part two of the autism discussion. There's two things you need to know about autism. It could be considered the cure to autism. Two things: knowledge, that's one, wealth is the other. When I say the cure for autism is knowledge, what I mean is that you must know what autism is. For my sons, I want them to know about the myths of autism because they will meet people who will have very strong opinions against them and close minds because they have a diagnosis. And that's if they know. For the most part, they're now functional enough that no one would know until they're told. And I found the myths that I'm going to talk about here from achieve.pointofview.org. They were discussed in the film Neurotypical, starring someone who has autism. Some of the things you'll need to know is people think autism is a fad diagnosis. And that answer is no. Autism was described in 1943 by Leo Cranner. And the earliest description of a boy with autism was in 1799. Asperger's syndrome, similar. Dr. Han Asperger in 1944, noting normal intelligence and language development, but autistic behavior. Autism is not something that is outgrown. That's a myth too. You don't outgrow autism. Your behavior might change and you may find better ways to relate to the world. But autism is lifelong. It doesn't go away as you age. Another myth: autism is a mental illness. No, it's actually a neurological disorder that's treated like a mental illness by modern medicine. It's treated with counseling and things that change behavior more than medication because those what makes autism isn't really mapped in the brain because it happens different ways. It's not mapped in the body yet. The genetic cause isn't found yet because it's probably more than one gene. So that pattern of all the genes that are mapped and all that are unknown, that pattern isn't found yet. Science hasn't found it. Another myth: autism is caused by poor parenting or unemotional moms. Yeah, that's the talk in the 50s, the 1950s, when children were sent to live in institutions rather than living with their parents or having productive lives like now. A myth: autism can make individuals violent. What really happens is people with autism get sensory overload or they're placed under great emotional stress. So there might be a violent response. In my household, it was very rare that the violence was aimed at another person. Most likely things broken, tossed, thrown around. And guess what? That happens with people that don't have autism diagnosis. So very rarely do people with autism choose to hurt other people with violent acts. That's part of what I feel is a gift of autism in my own home. My kids don't choose to be bad. They can do bad things, but very rarely did they actually choose to do bad. They react, but They would have rather not. They didn't choose to react, they just did. A myth that all autistic have a savant ability, they have a secret skill. Not really. That's only in about 10% of autistic individuals. Another myth, autism. It means they have no emotions, no feelings, and they don't have the ability to have deep feelings. And again, the opposite is really true. Emotions can actually be greater for some autistic individuals only because they can't put it accurately in words. Communication is one of the major deficits. Communication and social interaction, because those require finding the right words, which can be a challenge. I find that many empaths I have met in my life, they have abilities that seem to come from their autism diagnosis. And guess what? There's many autistic children that they're empathic because they bond to animals. Often they bond to pets when they don't to people. And that's really has more to do with the behavior. That animal won't yell at them, expect them to do something that makes them feel comfortable. Yeah, deep emotions exist for autism. That is one of the most hurtful myths ever. Here's another one that hurts. People with autism are dumb. No, that's just the movie Rain Man. Just one person on a screen created a myth that is hardest to break. Because in reality, people with autism can have incredibly high IQs. Autism is not a barrier to intelligence. It does not mean anything. People can be nonverbal and still have high intelligence. Communication is not related to IQ. Another myth, people with autism don't want to socialize. And again, some do. People with autism do fall in love, get married, and have kids just like everyone else. There are a lot of people with autism who do seek out people to socialize with. Sometimes it's people with autism, sometimes it's people that don't. Again, the biggest myth about autism is that if you know one autistic person, you know all there is. But that's not true. Autism is a spectrum disorder, which means there's a wide range of symptoms and behavior that get the diagnosis. And any person with autism you meet can be anywhere on that range. If you know one person with autism, you only know that person. You are not an authority just because you know one. And I can say that with complete trust because all three of my sons, although they got different autism diagnoses at different times, all of them are completely different. And that I think is normal. So now you know the knowledge you need besides self advocacy and everything I talked about in the last one. The other cure for autism, guess what? It's wealth. Not just wealth and knowledge, but the wealth that comes from working. Why? Because when you work a job that meets your needs, your wealth can enable you to have a home in a quiet area, which can be important to prevent sensory overload. If you're around too much noise, you'll constantly be upset, stressed, unable to concentrate, relax, and your body will develop illness. Your body has to rest and relax, or illness is a result. Wealth enables the money to spend for professional support. Yeah, in my house, wealth would have been good to pay for a maid to help clean because I do more to help my kids in day to day life, and cleaning falls behind. If you have the money, you can pay for ABA therapy, which makes a difference. I sacrificed my time by staying home and giving my sons ABA therapy, even though there was no money. I wasn't paid by the government to do it. I just made the sacrifice. My husband didn't pay child support for the twins that were diagnosed first, that enabled me to want to learn how to help them. So I would have liked to have been working at the job I had when I interviewed when I was pregnant so that I could be a programmer and pay for a professional to come and help me with my sons, but that didn't happen. But wealth and work is important. I want my sons to be able to do what they enjoy the most because that makes a difference. If you're going to work for 8 hours, it's better to enjoy it than to be miserable. Because if you're miserable, eventually you won't go in. It can be depressing and overwhelming to have to deal with people who really make you feel bad and bully you on purpose. And the money stop being worth that. I want my sons to make sure they've gotten vocational testing to determine aptitude. If you're a youth and you're listening to this, if you're a parent and you have autistic children, do the aptitude testing with vocational rehab. That will help your child find all the skills they might have, including ones they haven't been exposed to. Maybe they're good at something that they haven't been exposed to because, yes, we can only do so much as parents. So, yes, for my sons, I know employment makes a difference. Use your mind. Being busy and using your mind is a cure for autism, too. Boredom. Boredom creates stress for kids with autism, too. But it is important that employment will have income that meets your needs. It's important because wealth, having extra money at the end of the day, can be used to save. Because when you retire and stop working with autism, it will get harder. Why does that happen? Because people who have autism, seeking help is hard. And this is true because really, in 2019, now that autism is common, people really don't want to help. They don't understand enough about autism to have compassion. They believe the myths more than the ability. People don't want to approve housing assistance or discounts. People don't want to let you eat with food stamps. People don't want to let you collect disability, even when things are bad and you're having a crisis. People do not want you to have child care assistance to work if you're a parent. People do not want you to get 2 years welfare if you can't work and have a baby. And yes, I want my sons to know that TANF, that welfare, that's cash benefits, it has a lifetime limit of 2 years. And this is why I told you in the other message to be responsible. Get sterilized with surgery to reduce your heartbreak and heartache. Government agencies are difficult to deal with. They don't want to help you. And it can be a battle to get what you need. And that's a battle that often, yes, I moved from one state to another when I found out I couldn't get what I needed. I couldn't circumvent the law to get a divorce in order to buy a home to provide stability that my kids needed. I had to go to work to do that after paying out of pocket to finish my college degree because, yes, I couldn't get financial aid at colleges. I couldn't get a social worker that would help me finish college. But I want my children to seek out that help. Get a college degree as soon as you can. And yes, metaphysically, understand that Christ's teachings are the opposite of all the most prevalent opinions in the news today. I know one of you has argued with that about, yeah, why don't those agencies and why doesn't the US government, if we're going to be a Christian nation, why do they not help people be productive, help people get on their feet so they can be in the workforce and pay taxes? And yes, it doesn't make any sense at all. But I hope that my illness will mean I am here to prepare you to be self sufficient, like I had to be. Because I, at the end of the day, had no one but me and them. I did need help from my mother, and yes, my brothers at times. But when my children were small, there was no one. And yeah, I don't get credit for what I did. And just like you don't see my face on this video, I really don't care about the credit because I know that God knows. God knows what I did. God knows I did the best I could with all the obstacles that other people put in my way. And when I do pass away, and yeah, I have health problems, I want my children to know that they may not have anyone able to help them. But no matter how difficult to get their college degree and to get working in a field that they love and enjoy, life is hard enough. Working a job you hate will kill your spirit. And you are all have beautiful souls. You must never let hate you receive turn you into being hateful, sad, angry, vengeful. That's not what God wants for you. And I hope that you will seek out good things in life so that you can be reminded of how much God loves you. Love yourself. When you love yourself, God is able to act through you, be seen in you. When you meet your own needs and have less lack, life is wealth and life is easier. So, my sons, do what I say in this part. It matters very, very much. And as always, I want you to be well. With love and light, this has been your metaphysician or your mother, Reverend Joy. Have a good one.